Hey folks, James Hoff here. Have you heard of the RERAW 100? With no more than 100 agents, we're focused on action-based accountability. Look, no two agents are alike, and I'm not on a mission to put everyone in the same box. Members of this group benefit from regular accountability to the actions that are determined to best fit their unique personality and brand, allowing you to just be you and to build a successful business around it. It includes group coaching and accountability, a 228-page tracking journal, access to previous coaching calls, and much more. To join this exclusive group of agents, you can head over to reraw.com/100. Again, that's www.reraw.com/100. One last time, that's reraw.com/100.
Looking to take you and your real estate business to the next level? You're in the right place. Laying foundations for real estate success? This is the No Fluff, No BS podcast about real estate for real estate agents and other industry professionals looking to up their game. Unfiltered short-form sales meetings, interviews with agents from every walk of life, and ramble sessions about everything real estate. Welcome to a new mindset. You are listening to RERAW. And now, introducing your host, James Hoff.
And so we say hello again to another Wednesday spent together. Well, before we hop into the interview with today's guest, please remember to head over to reraw.com. That's RERAW.com. And the only reason I want you to go over there is so that, one, you have access to all the resources and all the good stuff that we talk about today, the tips, tricks, all the good stuff you can click on the show notes and whatever else you want to see, past episodes. And then, of course, so that I can, snag your email and your contact information and harass you whenever I want. So head over to the website. It's reraw.com. Check out the show notes. And that's all I have to say about that. So today, I'm interviewing Anthony Pirro. And how the heck are you, man?
Every day's a good day.
Every day's a good day. Well, it's about time to get down to the raw side of the business. You ready to go?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Anthony is a loan officer, and don't cringe out there, realtors. He works for one of the big banks. I'm not going to tell you which one. We're going to keep that on the DL. But he's been on the money side of the business for 14 years and specifically has been a loan officer for 7. Anthony closed between about $40 and $50 million a year in business for the last couple of years and is really only going to grow from there. He kind of comes from a family background in that industry. So we'll tap into that a little bit.
That's
but
right.
Hey, man, so before we get into too much of the business stuff, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about what you got going outside of work?
Absolutely. So, I work at one of the major banks, and unfortunately, we got to keep that off the record for the time being until legalities. But, just kind of moving forward in life, I come from a second generation of mortgage professionals, all who are at different banks.
I love that, man. Any fun hobbies? What do you do to distract yourself when you're not, crunching loans?
Just, you got to have an outlet. I love music. I play guitar, spend time with the dog, spend time with the girlfriend, and enjoy life day by day.
So you decided that you didn't want to stray too far away from the family biz, and you suckered yourself into the money side of the business. And
oh man, I did everything I could to stay away. 2008 was a hard year. It was the only year I got out of the industry, really. I tried to do insurance for about 12, 14 months, and I said, hey, you know what? I got to go back to what I know.
And insurance, man, I don't know. I got some friends who are insurance agents, and I got to tell you, it's a special breed of person, It's like...
I agree.
If anyone could be hated more than the loan officer, it's got to be the insurance agent, right?
Nobody wants to hear from him.
Unbelievable. How funny, man. Well, we kind of have a special opportunity because we get a chance on, myself as a realtor, you're a loan officer, and we get a chance to kind of hear from different perspectives. So, I think that especially the big banks, real estate agents are constantly blaming the lenders for the mess ups. And I'm sure the lenders in many ways are blaming the real estate agents and everybody else, right? We're always
Absolutely.
pointing the finger, and it's not always the nice finger, but, I wanted to kind of kick off by talking to you about, maybe shed some light on the differences between the big bank versus, what I think has been really coming up in the last couple of years with the more of the boutique lenders, the smaller, like the direct lenders. How are you different? How do you compete? What are the costs and benefits?
I would say the number one thing that is, when it comes to the consumer, as far as, the buyer themselves, the bank's always going to offer the lowest money at the lowest rate. It's going to always be the cheapest. And the reason being is, we have our own money. Yes, whether we're writing agency loans, would it be Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, whatever it might be, but we have so much more leverage because of how much money we have. And why that matters is just simply that we can give the consumer, in this case the buyer, a much lower rate, which saves them tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, over the course of the loan.
So then the real estate agent in me says, as a constant creating an objection to you, says, yeah, that's great if you can close the freaking deal. Right?
Well,
so
absolutely.
And I guess I should clarify the comment that, sometimes we come across, one big bank or one direct lender, and it kind of ruins the game for all the others, right? Because now we create our own biases. And I should tell the audience here, I actually had a chance to work with Anthony by mistake, I guess, through somebody else. You were on the other side. I had a listing, and you represented the buyer's loan, obviously. And I do not take referral. I don't refer business out to anybody that I don't usually work with or have like a personal connected referral from. And I always tell folks I'm willing to test you on someone that you send to me, and not the other way around, because I don't want to mess up relationships with my clients. And, you work for a big bank. I had my guard up. I'm pretty sure the whole transaction, and quite candidly, pretty sure I was a dick to you a couple of times. But you gave like phenomenal customer service and basically had me put my foot in my mouth at the end of all of it by just being like, dude, it's understanding how to navigate the big bank that makes the difference. So I promise I'll stop talking and let you jump in on this interview. But what can you talk about? I think some of the logistics in the big bank causes lots of problems, not just for the realtor, but for loan officers who bounce around a lot or don't have deep roots in one place and just understand how to navigate that. So can you talk about the importance of understanding the logistics of that? Because direct lenders have a lot more like personal connection with their underwriters and with the different departments. How do you deal with that in the big bank?
I think that's a great starting point, because it's really scratching the surface. Is the thing with most loan officers is that I have to admit there's a lot of them out there that who don't communicate properly. And what I mean by that is that makes all the difference in whether it's a big bank or a direct lender. Is no news is worse than bad news. I'd rather give bad news than just no news. And why I'm saying that is a lot of people, when things start to go astray, a lot of loan officers, should I say, don't know how to deliver that information, so they hide. And why I'm saying that is, yes, there are challenging things that do happen at a bank, because they are going to look at things slightly more conservative than direct lenders, who they're not servicing the loan. They're just going to write it and get rid of it. But why that matters is just if you can find a loan officer or an individual who can communicate thoroughly throughout the transaction from the get-go, whether it's good news or bad news, and just be able to be honest and open and always transparent, I think that's really what makes the difference in general. That's what's helped me at being at a big bank. And I don't see, and I'm not trying to just pump my own nuts up, so to speak, but you don't see that a lot from every loan officer.
Sure.
I started in this career when I was 15 as a telemarketer, going, "Hello, do you want to refinance?" And that truly it was my uncle's mortgage company, and that's what we did. And I think just growing up within it with my aunts, with my uncles doing mortgage, I learned that you need to communicate to the realtor and to the buyer, and even sometimes to the seller with the permission of the realtors, what's going on, and that makes the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really insightful.
And the other thing I would say, though, about being at a big bank is navigating the waters. For me, frustration is a result of unmet expectations. A lot of loan officers, want to just go after every realtor. We want to earn your business, and they're going to promise you the moon. Well, I really feel like that's a setup for failure for loan officers. When you say, I'll close this loan in 25 days and I'm going to do everything and be spectacular, you're not leaving yourself a lot of room. But if you're just honest with each realtor as far as communicating throughout the process, set their expectations properly. If you look at a loan and say, hey, look, I did my review. the DTI is kind of tight. We don't know if this home's going to appraise or if it's a condo and it might not pass, be a warrantable condo, or they might have litigation. Set those things at the beginning, because then the realtor and the buyer are a lot more willing to work with you.
Absolutely. Now, you obviously, as you know, you've got a pretty good book of business here, and you're closing lots of deals. Can you, in a business that clearly you've been growing, you went from about 40 million a couple of years ago to 48 million this past year, and I presume you're continuing that pattern of growth. Can you talk about, just in general, what is your vision of success?
My vision of success is really continuity. To be able to produce good amount of volume with very minimal amount of origination activity, but having to always maintain those relationships. But in any market, whether rates are 10% or 1%, if you can always be consistent, that what I truly believe in this industry, in the mortgage industry, is successful.
So how does your vision of success as a businessman fit into your vision of success as a person outside of work? How do those things come together? Are you and by the way, there's nothing wrong with either answer. I'm just curious, are you trying to take over the world? Do you have a limit that you know, hey, once I reach this, that's good for me? I mean, where does that separation come in? And
that's a really good question. Yes, I do want to take over the world.
Lovely. Join me, won't you?
James, I'm right here with you. But it's a day, one day at a time thing. And just to go back a little bit, I think there was a first part to that question that I really liked.
How does your success in business fit in with your personal life?
That's what it was. They're really the same thing. My whole thing just comes back to character, and it's about if you can actually look at any one of your friends, any one of your family members, and especially yourself in the eye and say, look, I did everything I could. I know that I am giving my best effort. I know that I have gone the extra mile. And if you can sincerely look at that best friend of yours, your family member, your spouse, and know in your heart that you did that, whether you made $1,000 that month or you made $100,000 that month, if you can sincerely believe that in your heart,
sure, then
to me, that's how you cross those lines. You know, if you can live with yourself, knowing that you've done everything you can, just like sports, if you've given everything out, then that's where I would say success is for me as a businessman and an individual.
Good for you. I like that. So do you think that, do you consider yourself a workaholic?
Absolutely.
So how do you keep yourself from burning out? When do you shut down?
Sundays. Everybody's different. I always grew up working late. I always had a job since 15. Like I said, I was a telemarketer Monday through Thursday, 4 to 8, work Saturdays. But also, I enjoy working. It's just something that I, as a person, think I have a higher threshold for, just because that's where I kind of find solace in, is working and knowing I'm being productive. So I always create the schedule that no matter what, you have to take Sundays off. You don't work. You enjoy everything about life. And that way it kind of helps me keep things in perspective.
Now, do you find that easy to do when you're in the middle of, a chaotic time and you've got all your business coming in? I mean, how well do you protect that time, I should ask?
I mean, it's difficult. I mean, in an industry where, the thing about the mortgage industry is it doesn't shut off. It's 100% commission, and if you want to make $10,000 a month or $100,000 that month, you can do that.
Right.
How much do you want to work? So the question is, how bad do you want it? And that does there, and it doesn't mean a monetarily value or number. It's what matters to you.
Right.
And when that kind of starts getting taken into account, it's very hard to keep your rituals and take that time off. But it's a very cognizant thing that I've had to do the last 3 or 4 years of, no matter what, you got to take Sundays off and spend some time with the family.
Yeah, I think, to kind of shout out to the listeners really quick, something I'm hearing from you that's really important is how bad do you want it? And I think we
we oftentimes put that out there as like a financial play, right? Like, how bad do you want something? Like, monetarily, what does that mean for you? And I think we oftentimes forget, especially in a business like this that doesn't shut off, that's easy to work 7 days a week. You'd work 8 if we could find a way to do it, right? Like, the decision and the trade-offs that exist in this business are not all financial. Your economic decision to how bad you want it, like, okay, are you, like, for me, the decision is like, all right, am I missing the kid's bedtime tonight or am I not? And that's an economic decision. Like, there's always something else that I could be doing. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that I'm a bad dad if that night I got to work late and whatever, but and what is it for you? What is it for you as an agent? What is it for you as a loan officer? And it doesn't mean that if if you're not working 15 hours a day that you suck. It just means that you've chosen to do something else. So I think, if I could go on my little rant for a minute, like, I think what a lot of agents and loan officers or title, anybody like that's kind of building their own success, I think what a lot of people do is they forget that they have that choice, and it's oh, well, I'm busy or I have all this other stuff going. Well, yeah, you do. But like, that was your choice. It's my choice to do this podcast. It's my choice to be doing this right now instead of showing a house. It's my choice to coach my daughter's soccer game. It actually forces me into that schedule. So I have to protect the time, because then it gives me that, like, it's no longer an option. So I think what is important for us as professionals to understand, and I love that you went down that path of, it's how bad do you want it? It doesn't mean that you have to sell your soul. It means that you have to create the boundary and understand what the worth of your sacrifices are. And those sacrifices don't necessarily have to mean less money. It just means, like, I'm going to make more money in the time that I'm working because I'm more dedicated. I'm going home tired. Like, it's all good. Or, you know what? It's cool. I'm okay with making a little less because the time I spend with family, the time some people just want to travel the world, the time I do this, I've got a friend who does that. He loves snowboarding, and he's like, yeah, bro, like, I'm not going to be in real estate forever. I've like literally close my deal and go 2 weeks up in the mountains, and then I come back and then I start my business over again, but you make that choice. So I think that's insightful. So let me transition a little just to talk specifically to the loan officers for a second. What do you have to say to the loan officer that's just starting out? What are the most important things that they should be focusing on as they get their career off the ground?
Number one, because that's a great question, man. I mean, you asked me that, and within 2.5 seconds, I had 12 different thoughts. I mean, man, there's so many things, thinking back when I first started. And I would say the number one thing is definitely consistency. In
what way? Consistency with what?
I'm happy you said that, because the word means everything.
Okay.
It really means everything as a loan officer in regards to, I think you need to be consistent in your schedule. Make a plan of what it is that you're going to do. Not what your goals are, but make a daily plan. You're going to make phone calls from 2 to 8, lunch with a referral partner at 12 to 1, and then phone calls again from 6 to 8. And keep to it. The consistency is the biggest thing. Now, and you ask in what other ways? With your relationships and your referral partners. Be consistent, because that's how you earn someone's trust. If you do a transaction with a realtor and they enjoyed working with you, you call them a month later and they say, hey, yeah, let's get together, I'm busy. And you say, I'll call you in a month. And if you don't call them in a month, you just lost their trust because you're not following through.
Right.
And my point is consistency with your relationships and your referral partners, consistency in your schedule, because being a loan officer, you're not clocking in.
Right.
There, I mean, a lot of people don't have to sit in front of a computer all day.
Right.
So that freedom is also a very big challenge for a lot of people because they don't have structure. Obligation and structure can be a very good thing if it's perceived properly. Mm-hmm. Consistency in your schedule, consistency with your referral partners and your relationships, and with your customers. I mean, that's a huge thing with loan officers is we tend to think of this business as a one transaction, one-time deal.
Right.
But, when you build those relationships with those customers, I have customers I've done loans, 5 or 6 loans with for the last 6 years because you're just consistently talking to them. Hey, Paul, it's been 6 months. Haven't talked to you. Wanted to see how things were going. Great. How was Germany? I know that was the last time we talked. Cool. And then, in your CRM system, set another calendar reminder. Give them a call in 3 or 4 months. Consistency is the number one thing that can help a young loan officer.
Now, we talk about consistency, which I think is great, by the way. If I could interject one thing, earlier this year, actually, it's kind of funny. I was at an event, probably about 50 other people, and it's a business development event, not specific to real estate. This guy said, consistency is important because it teaches you to trust yourself. Because what ends up happening is so often we make a schedule and then we don't keep to it. And then we're like, I'll do that later. And then we don't do it. Right. And so we make promises, but the only promises we're breaking are to ourselves. Right.
Absolutely.
And subliminally, I don't want to get too I don't want to go too deep down this philosophical road here, but what was interesting, if you think about, I'm really into the brain hacking, there's this biohacking thing going on right now. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's actually kind of cool. It's about understanding your body and the way your body processes stuff. And there's a whole mental hacking thing you can do to understand how you personally and your brain processes things. And what's interesting is this guy said, if you aren't consistent and you continue to write stuff down on your calendar and say that you're going to do things that you don't do, then eventually it's not everybody else that thinks you're a liar. You start thinking to yourself that you're a liar, and then you can't even trust you. And the day that you can't trust yourself to stay committed to one thing, you're so screwed.
Oh, yeah.
Totally
Absolutely
screwed.
there.
So anyway, that was my tangent. But what's so loan officer comes into the business. They got to focus on consistency in every facet. Mm-hmm. Where should loan officers be looking for business? Where should they be going? They're starting out. Not everybody's in their families ready to buy a house today, right? So where do they go? Are they calling realtors? Are they what's their strategy?
That's a great starting point, because to go a little, personal on you, the whole thing is if you really believe in what you're selling, and in this case, a mortgage, you're going to want to talk to everyone. If you really believe in what you're doing and you want to get someone in a home and they think, I can only do 20% down, you want to be ecstatic to be able to be like, look, there's other options. Or if you believe you can save somebody money, whether it's a refinance or a cash out refinance to pay off their debts, you want to be excited. And my point is where can they find business? Is if they really believe in what they're doing, it can be all around you. It can be, you don't want to be the guy at the bar sitting there talking about, hey, what rate's on your mortgage? But,
Right. Yeah,
you know what I mean? But
another beer for the guy at 7%.
Yeah. This guy needs to do something now. No, but there's so many things to go out there and do, whether it's, of course, there's lead providers, there's great mentorships. If you go to a bank where, you can have somebody who puts you in contact with their book of business, you can go through a junior program. But if you have the desire and the initial effort to get into the industry, there's so many things that you can do for business. And realtors are just one of them. It's a great asset to obtain and build your business on. But whether it's that, you can have a commercial banker who gives you business because they don't do residential mortgages.
Yeah.
It could be a divorce attorney, because, hey, they're coming across, a new, somebody who needs to go buy a new condo because they just got rid of their house.
Sure.
It could also, of course, be an accountant. Everybody's holy grail is, let me ask the accountant if this makes sense. There's a lot of ways to go about business. Referral partner, leads, the banks. Really, if you just want to get involved, there's a million ways for you to be successful.
So it's just about being in front of people and, picking a path and just kind of going after it.
Yeah, I have, my business plan is always 4 buckets of origination. You need to have 4 different assets that are going to be presenting business opportunities to you.
Okay, so take your book out on this, people, because actually this is huge. Putting all your eggs in one basket is a detriment to your business. And, in fact, we saw that a lot when the market changed and everyone had been banking on a refi business, and then all of a sudden hit the fan, and here we are,
Yep.
Then you start getting these guys who've done, 90 to 95% of their business was all, refis and whatnot. And then I start getting calls from lenders I've never even heard of. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Man, you should see the fear in those guys' eyes today. They don't know what
I
to
can
do.
hear it over the phone. Like, I don't even want to, they must be white as a ghost, man. Cause it's just, it's crazy. But yeah, and there's a lot to say for that as real estate agents too. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, and you can't spend your entire day just calling FSBOs and expireds. You can't spend your whole day just door knocking. And that's not because, well, I guess in California, all the houses might burn down, but that's not because like the houses will be gone tomorrow. But, you can't put all your efforts into just one thing. Now, at the same time, you also shouldn't be doing like 20 different things.
Yeah.
You got to pick your top, I say your top 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4. But have stuff that you set and write down and do all that. That's really cool. Now, I'm going to switch gears and throw things over to the real estate side, or the realtor side for a minute. I think realtors often, well, and maybe loan officers too, I feel like the opposing party feels like, mortal enemies, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And it's a beautiful day when we find someone that's good to work with. Unfortunately, a lot of realtors try to partner up with someone who's willing to fund their marketing budget.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for, I give referral business to people who perform, and that's it, and if there's something else that comes from that down the road, then wonderful, but the relationship can't start that way, or you're never held accountable. Can you tell me something that is perhaps a big misunderstanding that realtors have of the lending business that maybe you could provide clarity on? What's something that real estate agents call you about that like you just get off the phone and you're like, man, this guy they just don't get it. They don't realize that's not something I'm capable of doing because, whatever.
I feel guilty saying it, because I'm on the other side of the screen right now. But it's funny because
You're going to talk about me now?
no, not that transaction. What I would say is that it's not like 2006, guys. And what I mean by that is you can't beat us up and call us 100 times in a day saying, did the underwriter get to it? Did you need to have them get rid of this? Or it's not like that anymore. We have so much federal red tape that we can't get by, that if we're asking for something and it does seem a little obnoxious or just straight up stupid, I agree with you, because I'm with you guys. All I want to do is close the transaction and be on great terms with all that are there.
Yeah, the guidelines don't make it easier for you to do your job
Oh,
either.
absolutely not. And trust me, I mean, I've been doing this forever, where if I can find my way around it, I've found it.
Yeah.
But if I'm coming to the point saying, hey, we do need to get that second appraisal, or hey, there is a health and safety issue on this house, it needs to be fixed or we can't close.
Right.
I'm only asking because I have to.
Right.
If there was something I could do to get those things waived, I would do it. And why I'm saying that is there's a lot of realtors that think that they can call and bug and call.
Climb the ladder, go around you.
And at the end of the day, almost 100%, I'll say 99.99% of the time, it's right back where we started. Like, put that energy elsewhere, because if we are asking for it, it's only because we have to, because I'd rather not.
Yeah, put that energy elsewhere is like a major value bomb. And for the RERAW community out here, I mean, I think that's something we got to focus a lot on. Pick your battles. Absolutely pick your battles. And the reality is this: if you're frustrated about something, everybody's probably frustrated about it. I've yet to meet the person that makes 100% commission, that's like, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna stand in your way. We're not gonna do this, like that's not the case. Now, some people are a little more difficult to work with than others. And, I get it. We don't always get to pick our team, as I tell my clients, we don't always get to pick everybody we work with, and that's okay. But we got to find ways to work together. And the lender wants to close it just as much as the realtor, just as much as the buyer and the seller and whatever, right? So, pick your battles. And if there's a lesson to learn from this, it is that. Oftentimes we go barking up the tree and you sit there and go, man, if you spent as much energy just finding the freaking solution and getting that damn paper signed and getting XYZ fixed, then like that, as you're spending calling me and blowing me up, probably would be done with this by now.
100%.
Absolutely. Now, on the same hand, talking about real estate agents that have a misunderstanding of the lending business, can you talk to me about, and maybe the answer is what you've already provided, but can you talk to me about something that frustrates you with real estate agents in general? Is there something that you see realtors doing wrong as a loan officer that you could shed some light on? Like, hey, agents, switch your game, do this differently and everybody's life gets better.
Work with me. A lot of real estate agents, because there's a lot of horror stories with lenders, they approach the situation going into it thinking it's going to be a bad thing. You're like, hey, I haven't worked with this guy.
You probably get it a lot at a big bank too, because there's 10 times the flags that go up when somebody, like if somebody, I'm just going to throw them all under the bus, but if somebody goes, oh yeah, B of A or Wells Fargo or Chase or US Bank, or like, pick your poison. And then the real estate agent immediately inserts their face in their hand and goes, you know what?
Yep.
Are you sure? Because I could get you cross-qualified with my direct lender and like my buddy who can do this and like whatever, right? So, yeah, I mean, it goes back to me saying like we don't always get to pick our team, right? Sometimes you just gotta like.
But that's a really good point, is because and I'm going to say two things, and the number one is I said that because I'm like, you let that, if you don't approach it properly, or meaning if you approach this transaction thinking it's going to be bad, any little thing that goes wrong is going to be blown out of proportion, and it becomes worse. But
yeah, self-fulfilling prophecies. Yeah,
absolutely. And I always say, hey, give me 10% of your trust. I'll earn the other 90%, because at least give me the opportunity to do well. Or if I'm wrong, I'll be like, hey, you know what? We screwed up. I'll be the first guy to tell you that. But my point is at least we can go into it together, because like you said previously, we're in this both to close the transaction. We're here to work together. That's number one. Number two is, I guess I'm going to be speaking on behalf of all the big banks, but my point is like, don't just shut off the big banks, because one, they're making every effort to make sure, that we're closing on time. I just closed a transaction in 16 days. Now that's the exception. It's not the rule. But,
sure.
But my point is that we're doing everything that we can, but also think about your client. If you're giving them a 5% rate when we can be giving them 4.375 because you want them to work with your buddy who's so-and-so's uncle who's going to get the deal done, that difference, whether on a $500,000 loan, that's $350, $400 a month.
Yeah, that's big.
And for 30 years, you're talking about, that's over $120,000 in difference. So my thing is,
protect your clients' best
protect
interest.
Your clients. Thank you, James.
You know what though? I'm gonna obviously, as a realtor, I got my realtor hat on all the time, and so my guard goes up right away, because I think to myself, that's great, but I keep going back to this whole but the rate's only good if you can close the damn deal. And a lot of times what we find as real estate agents, I think there's this idea, and this is true actually. This does happen, so I'll give you a chance to rebut, but. But, a lot of times we sit there and go, look, man, it's great for you to go to that company, but if they can't close, then what good is it?
Yeah. And
I would love for you to have that, but a lot of times that rate is if you're the strongest man with the right blood type and, you whatever, you have to have, everything has to be exactly perfect. Your credit has to be 1,400, which doesn't exist, right? But the point is all of a sudden, you go from that 3.75 and now you're going, well, now you're 5.25. Well, why did I thought I was going for 3.75? And people go, well, it's because you didn't meet all of the 300 other criteria. And they go, well, shit, I wouldn't have picked you otherwise.
The only thing I can rebut to that is, James, you're 100% right.
I love that. Aaron, you're listening to this. No,
99.99%. Damn it. But that's why I have to tell you is, urge your clients to get approved before they find the home.
Right.
Because if that's the case, I could tell you those things right now, hey, Mr. Smith, I ran his credit, I saw his assets, here's his tax returns. If he got into a home today that they accepted his offer, I can guarantee he would get XYZ.
So know the situation on the front end.
100%.
Yeah.
So many people, I probably get at least 2 to 3 phone calls a month where it's hey, we just opened escrow. We want to get a loan. Great. Have you been pre-approved? No. Okay.
You know what? That's really funny. I can't believe this. I'm just recalling exactly the transaction I met you on. And Jeff, I'm not going to say his last name, but if Jeff listens to this, you know, I'm not flipping you the bird over here. It turned out to be a good thing. You know, what's funny is I'll share the story real quick because it actually ties directly into this. I was having a buyer that non-contingent. They were selling their property. They were making a non-contingent purchase, and everything ended up working out well. But I gave them a direct lender who I work with, who also is going to be on the show, and does a ton of business. Is very good. After we opened escrow, Jeff decided to shop the rate, and I get a phone call from Jeff, and he says, dude, I mean, the rate is like stupid good. And by the way, the guy ended up buying for like, you know, $1.2 million plus, you know, so it was a big, you know, we're not talking small pennies here when it comes to a difference in rate is a lot of money. And I cringed because I didn't know you. I hated the bank that you worked at, and I had
think you
nothing
were a
but
dick at the beginning.
Oh, big time, dude. I mean, for sure. Like and you know what's funny is I literally, and I recall, I mean, usually in these cases, you know, if you have the unfortunate happening where somebody after you open escrow decides to go down that road and you bang your head into a brick wall a few times and wipe off the blood and then come back to the table and collect yourself. But I remember the phone call. I had said something to the effect of, all right, man, well, listen, like you're starting late. You know, we're keeping the other guy in the game. If you can't close, I already have someone who can save your butt, but please don't make promises you can't keep. Everything needs to stay on time. Here's the timelines, blah, blah, blah. I'll get you the contract, but like, I'm not happy about the situation. And I was very, 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 I can't even say very enough with how resistant I was to this whole deal.
Yep, you were.
And I was so pleasantly surprised. And at the end, what came about was the rate was way better. The rate was way, way better. And the comment that I had made to Jeff was, hey, if it works, and I had this conversation at least 3 or 4 times during escrow, I'm like, bro, you have to understand, the rate is better. I get it. If he can close, if he can close, if he can close. And it kept coming back to the if he can close. And but you did. And it was great. And, you know, all I can say at the end of that, the lesson learned for me was, you know, like you said, give you 10% of the trust and then you'll earn the other 90, but you did. And
Yeah.
I'm not here, you know, to blow smoke up your ass, but I just, you know, there was a lot learned for me in that moment too, because, you know, we all have our own agenda, and you have to be really, really careful in not letting your own personal agenda get in the way of what's best for your client. And it is, and guys, it's a fine line, because sometimes we think we know what's best for our client, but in reality, like, we may be standing in the way of what's best for them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anyway, that's my weird story. But yeah, I forgot about that. I was trying to rack my brain for a minute, like, what was that transaction? And that was it. That was the one.
Good old Jeff.
Good old Jeff. Yeah, we still talk about you from time to time. Sometimes it's good too. Let's talk about favorite technology, favorite stuff that you leverage and access and use. Do you have any favorite stuff that helps you be more efficient?
For other loan officers, I got to say, you got to get a good CRM. Find something that keeps you organized.
Any favorites that you got?
You know, I got to say that I do enjoy the Velocify, the Lion's Desk. I think those are 2 good ones. But the Velocify, I think it's a great product, but mostly just because of the organization. You know, I can talk to a customer. I can say, hey, you know, let's go ahead and get you in this home. They say, hey, you know, I got to go out of the country for a little bit. Call me in 6 months. You set a note, forget about it. And 6 months later, I'll get a text message and an email reminding me to call, you know, Joe Blow, whoever it is. So definitely get a good CRM to keep you organized. It's really hard to stay organized in this industry.
You know, that's interesting. I think that on social media, that's probably one of the most common questions that comes up, aside from how did you pick to hang your license at that broker?
Yeah.
But people are always asking, what's the best CRM? And the most common answer is the one that you're going to use. But, you know, oftentimes I think we overcomplicate stuff, right? And we try to go to something that has all the bells and whistles, and the CRM has it's got a dialer with it, and it's got the whatever, and all this
This is so
shit
cool.
Right. And like, you know, I don't know. I remember back when I worked at Callaway, we must have had 3 or 4 different systems that we used, and they all talk to one another. And I think sometimes it's hard to connect those dots as a small business owner, right? You're your own boss in your marketing and your sales and your operations. You're like, crap, like how do you figure it all out? But sometimes we overcomplicate it. So finding a CRM that's not Excel is nice. And there is a purpose for Excel, by the way.
Huge.
But you got to do something other than that.
But like you said it jokingly, but it's so true. Is the one that you're going to use. I mean, and it's so easy nowadays in regards to just having the technology, but you have to make that conscious effort day in, day out. Do this right now. Do this right now. And when you do that with a CRM, you within like a couple, I'd say a couple weeks, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm pretty organized. I got a lot of things going for me.
Yeah.
But that's probably one of the biggest habits and attributes of top loan officers that's in common is being organized.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think one of the best ways to back into what's right for you is trying to figure out what your needs are. A lot of times we sit there and we look at all the amenity that a CRM or any service for that matter can provide. And we sit there and go, oh, cool. Well, this, like I said before, this one has the dialer, and this one can do the texting and the silent voicemail drop and all this other stuff. And at the end of it, it's like, oh, I was really just looking for a place to store my contacts and like make a note. You know what I mean? And it's like, wait, hang on a sec. Like, so I think, to interject my own opinion on that is like, if you are searching for a certain CRM, think about what your needs are. Mm-hmm. And just focus on satisfying those needs. And yeah, we're all looking for what if I grow bigger? Well, you know what? When you grow bigger, cross that bridge.
Yeah, don't put the cart in front of the horse. I mean, you're not even there yet.
Right. And you gotta start somewhere. And P.S. most of the companies out there, there's a lot of young CRMs out there right now, and they're growing with you. They're going to grow as your business grows too. And a lot of them actually are on social media. Like Lion Desk is great. The owner of the company, for God's sake, has a Facebook group that he interacts and engages with and says, hey, what do you think if I do this? That's would that be cool? And people come back and they're like, no, don't do that. And okay, I won't, so it's, but yeah, it's just really, there's a lot of cool things out there, but don't overcomplicate it. Figure out what your need is and go from there. Any final thoughts as we kind of wrap things up, and any last words you want to give to our agents and loan officers out there, and then maybe tell everybody the best way they can keep in touch with you?
Yeah. I got to say, whether you're a realtor or a loan officer, young or old, it's not about how fast we move, but all that matters is that we keep moving forward. There's times where if you're a realtor, you put, 3 escrows in a month. And then there's times where you go 3 months with not even talking to somebody who wants to list or buy a home.
Right.
But no matter what, I would say just keep going. Just keep going, because at the end of the day, it all comes together if you're doing the right things and you're moving forward.
Oh, that's awesome. So if anyone wants to keep up with you or tap into your brain or just touch base or connect, how can we find you?
Yeah. So like I said at the beginning, because of legal reasons, I can't use my my bank email. So I'm going to actually give you my personal email. You can reach me at acpirro, that's P as in Paul, IRRO @gmail.com. And of course, if you ever want to shoot me a text or give me a call, you can always reach me at 323-369-0406.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you very much. And really do appreciate you being here today. It's cool to get perspective from the loan officer side. A lot of great value, and I think real estate agents and loan officers alike, I'd like to just kind of resurface that big message of consistency and follow through, and just, picking something that you love and do it and believe in it, and whatever you're selling, like live, breathe, play that game. I think that's really powerful. And for those of you who didn't catch the contact info, I'm going to go ahead and put that on the show notes. So my final shameless plug for RERAW is make sure you head over to RERAW.com and check it all out. We've been talking to Anthony Pirro from an unnamed bank, but a big giant bank. Your most hated banks are the big giant ones, right? But we've been talking to the man, and it's nice to get that perspective. So thanks for being on the show. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to the next one, my friend.
Absolutely.
All right.